All right, this is Crom Update 24, and I am joined by the Drawnsword. Drawnsword, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks, Kurt.
Oh man, it's so good to see you and your amazing art. I'm just going to go ahead and give you an update, which will give everybody else an update of what's going on. I am working on revising my 2018 Crom the Barbarian collection of comics, which is the original from Gardner Fox and John Genta. And then I had done 4 additional stories in ballpoint pen, which I am now putting a little bit more luster on, some gray values and deepening the inks. So I've reached out to 5 artists that I was hoping to get some pinup work for that would be posted in the book, and also a virgin cover for the release. So there'll be my cover, which I'm working on right now. And then I will have 5 other covers from guest artists. David Molina, so he has. I've been calling this the Jeff Darrow Crom pinup.
Wow, he
So
got it
yeah, we
scanned,
just
eh?
he got a new scanner. He got one of those workforces that I've been using. So he's pretty excited. We got to find him some scanning software, kind of Photoshop level software without having the cost of Photoshop. So that'll be the next thing. But he's also going to be doing some zipatone, adding some gray values
Cool.
to kind of set things apart. But he's very, very, very much coming along. Jason Schoonover just
Wow,
completed this yesterday. So this is based on a Renaissance painting that actually hangs in his local art museum. And so he used that as a jumping off point. David in the head of Goliath is now Crom in the head of said victim.
I like
So
the hilt.
that's good. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. When I saw him working on that, I was like, Drawnsword's gonna really, really dig that. So this will be the cover, and then when you flip into the book, this will be the first page you see, and then we're kind of working on maybe putting in some like a Crom the Barbarian masthead and such. I have also gotten another gentleman by the name of Adam Dodds, and he this morning just sent me the finished version, which is off to the scanner. He's another one that's doesn't have a scanner at this moment, or the one he has is down. So he's going to actually get a professional scan of it. So this is his doodly gobbledygook, Crom and Tanis, or tenant or in the background, and they've
Wow,
pulled this curtain away, and you get all this psychedelia coming from it from outside going in. So pretty darn cool. And of course, the first guy that gets everything done is yourself, Drawnsword. So uh, I have one more individual, that is Ken Landgraf. I did get a commission of his. I'm not showing off his work yet because I kind of want to create a surprise, for that. Though you can see him working on the pinup on his YouTube channel, which I'll put a link below. And yeah, so
yeah.
that's the update I have. So as I've been saying with everybody, the guest artists I've had on, once the pinup is complete, I still wanted to maintain connection with the artists, because my hope is when I complete and release the revised edition of Crom Collected, that I want to do a follow-up publication called Crom Anthology, where I'll be continually working on Crom material, but bring in some artists to have backup material, black and white, sword and sorcery, our Savage Sword of Conan style format. You know, we've all come to love and desire more of. But so it's been a month or so, Drawn Sword, since we've talked, other than, kicking some emails back and forth. Last time, I think in the update video, you were working on an art book called Scavenger's Dread. But now you also have I guess a revised title, Savage Valor. Savage Valor. So, do you want to give us an update on where you're at in the world of fantasy art?
Yeah, well, the book you first mentioned, it's Scoundrel's Dread.
Yeah.
It's like a collection of pieces I've done that are part of a otherworld galaxy with bounty hunters and villains. And I just drew, illustration after illustration over years, and I ended up with a big folder of them, and then I've decided that I'll make it a 32 pager, and I've gone through and selected what I thought were the best, and then I was gonna have one page as like a bibliography in the back, and have all the titles. But when I was looking back at them all, I sort of realised that a lot of them I didn't like them anymore. So it became really.
You didn't like them anymore?
No, I kind of feel like I rushed some of them, and I could have spent a bit more time on them, or I could have made the composition better. So I'm kind of letting it sit and just. I've still got to pick. I'm sort of deciding whether I'm going to take some out and put different ones in. It's kind of tricky.
Right.
And I might actually redo the cover as well, because there's no movement. The character's just walking down the stairs. So I might do the cover of that again. I'm not sure. But in the meantime, I've started, over the years, I sort of, every now and then I do, because the Scoundrel's Dread book is sort of like out of this world sci-fi stuff, even though it could show something kind of primitive and sword and sorcery looking. But the Savage Valor folder I've got of different pieces that over the years I've popped one out, and I've put them in that folder. I've got different folders for different themes. So I thought, this eventually will become a book, the Savage Valor, as well, an art book. And this piece here that's showing is probably one of the first ones I did that was in that theme. Although it's hard to remember, but I think it was done back in 2011, I believe.
Okay.
And I think at the time I was developing a comic character, and this might have been the second incarnation of that character, and it's just kept on going to what I've arrived at in 2020. But I think it was set in a post-apocalyptic world originally, but it sort of works as an ancient sword and sorcery one as well, I guess.
How big is that drawing?
A4.
A4, okay.
Yeah, it's sort of our standard photocopy size.
It's like around 8.5 by 11 inches.
Yeah.
For us, as Americans.
It's
The only country in the world that
actually
hasn't gotten into metrics.
it's 210 by
Okay.
297 millimeters.
Okay.
If you know millimeters.
No, we're still working with inches and feet over here. So,
Yeah,
but no, yeah, we the A4 is definitely like the we call letter size here.
yeah, yep.
And by the way, everybody, Drawnsword is coming live from New Zealand, so um, just give a heads up.
Yeah, so yeah, lately I've been working on a bunch of pieces for the Savage Valor because I've just been inspired. We're working with Crom on the
Right.
piece. I just sort of got on that roll, and I've ended up with quite a few ideas developing in the sketchbook of different scenes and just exploring different kinds of monsters for a warrior to be fighting. Or
You want to do you want to show off some of that stuff?
yeah, um,
Oh my gosh.
um, this one's not finished yet. I don't know if I can get the whole thing in.
Oh, you're
But
doing fine. You're doing fine. Whoa. Whoa.
yeah, that one's not finished yet. Uh, yeah, it's this one. There's these wispy tree dudes in the background.
Yeah.
Um, oh, this is one I've nearly completed. I have to let things sit for a while, and then come back to it with fresh eyes to see um, if I could add any more. Is that coming through all right?
Oh, it's coming in great. It's coming in great.
And a new sort of thing I've noticed I'm doing is I have about 4 or 5 pieces going at once, so because you get sick of looking at working on the same piece.
I'm the same way.
And
I'm the same way.
and and then it sort of freshens your eyes up each time you come back to it, and things pop. Oh, I need to
Yep.
work on that area, and
Yep.
make it better. Because just in going back and looking through my folders of for this Scoundrels Dread book, a lot of stuff. I was like, oh no, and I've done so many that I'll never put them in print. But there's still a lot of good ones still that work.
Yeah, we always find something to be critical of when as artists. And there's the old adage that you know, all art is never finished. It's just
Yeah,
the corporations that need them as finished as possible so they can be thrown on the covers of magazines, and they can make the movie and so on and so forth. But yeah, you have you have a very excellent critical eye, if I might praise you, because I have the opportunity to see a scan in person, so because no matter what we do and the quality of cameras that we show your work on, it doesn't it doesn't match actually seeing in this physical way. And I've got a pretty decent printer, but you have a just an excellent eye for detail. But it might sound a little weird for me to say this, but there's a balance there. It's like it's not too much and it's not too little, and you understand value. So that's also the kind of mastery that you have going on. So I applaud you for it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Now, now, do you have individuals like friends or family that you sit down with your work and let them give you feedback on it, or does somebody in the house have the power of saying yes, drawn sword, it is complete, it's okay?
Well, I used to get my wife to tell me if they looked finished enough or something when I'd be doing
Right,
commissions,
right.
and I haven't done that for a long time. But the strange thing is, lots of people know I'm an artist, but they never ask me, "Oh, what have you been drawing lately?" Well, they never ask about my art, and I don't know
Huh.
any artists anymore. They've all left town. But
Oh,
I
what?
saw one I hadn't seen for I don't know, 15 years or something, and he was in town and came and visited me, and he actually asked me,
Nice.
and that was last year. He says, "Oh, show us your art," and
Yeah.
he's a sculpture artist, makes amazing sculptures. But it's a strange thing. No one ever asks that. Do you get that when no one ever asks you?
Yeah, I don't. I think what it is a lot of people just assume you're always doing something. And I also have to say that most people, well, let's say 8 out of the 10 artists I know are not into fantasy art or comic books. So
Right.
it's sort of like okay, nice. And then the two that are friends of mine, they're even subjectively skewed. Like one's an extreme realist fantasy artist, and then the other one is cartoony. If I could just be blunt, and I love that
Right.
though about them is when the three of us do have a chance to get together, it's really neat to see our work kind of float around those kind of qualities. But yeah,
Right.
it is challenging, as an artist.
I've kind of got used to it. I just in my own world with my
Yeah, me
art,
too.
and I've only
Me
just.
too. Now, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say I've only just started really putting it out there.
Well, that is something
Whether
too I want to encourage because I came across your work, I believe through YouTube. Yeah, because I think you had joined or made a comment on the Turbo Pit Fighter podcast that I do with Jake Jacobs. And anybody that comes through, I take a look at their profile, and I saw one of your videos, and then you had a link to Drawnsword Graphics, your website. And once I got over there, I was done. I must have spent at least a half an hour on your website, and and I filed it away under cool artists, browser folder. And then when I got to my Crom project, and I was thinking, I'd like to work with a couple of like-minded artists, and you were in that folder. And I think you were the second person. David Molina was the first person I reached out, and he gave me a lot more courage when he came back. He said, "Absolutely." And then when you came back and said, "Yeah, sure," I'm like, "All right, this is going
cool.
to work." So, but yeah, I mean, like right here and now, this is one of the key reasons I want to keep doing the Crom updates, these podcast videos, is just literally just hanging out, showing each other's work, talking frustration, talking about success, you know, talking about
Yeah,
trouble we can get ourselves into.
yeah, it's a good thing. It's definitely needed.
Keeps you a little more sane, out of your own head and into,
Yeah,
you know, trying to describe things, because that's my toughest thing is trying to describe to somebody what it is I do, because I really don't like the term comic book artist or fantasy artist or even artist. That's the biggest. That's the toughest one, because
Yeah.
they always, like I said, most people are like, "Oh, I have a friend and she does cat portraits, and my uncle
Oh,
does landscape watercolors. What do you do?" Uh, Crom the Barbarian, sword and sorcery. What?
yeah. Even if you say, "Oh, I'm a fantasy sci-fi artist," a lot of people don't know what that is. They're like, "Oh, what's that?" You
No,
know?
no. And I also have to say, I like that, with the explosion of, the Marvel and DC movies, and more people having gotten back
Yeah,
into or
yeah,
getting into comic books and stuff. It did take the mystery or shadows of being a nerdy comic book person, or fantasy, driven person, into the open. But I still feel like sword and sorcery, fantasy art style stuff is, it's still back in the shadows. It's not a lot of people. I think the first thing people go for is Conan the Barbarian, and then the second thing is Dungeons and Dragons.
yeah. Lord of the Rings did, the movies that Peter Jackson did, The Hobbit, and that they really helped out, you know, those in the fantasy arts,
Yeah,
in
and
New
then Game of
Zealand.
Thrones right behind it.
Yeah. I mean, for New Zealanders, like they've
Yeah,
discovered these guys in some little back town of New Zealand, that got exposure and, you know, became household names and,
yeah.
you know, and working for Weta or, Weta Digital or the actual Weta studio in Wellington.
Yeah, because it's still you guys are a go-to point vacation wise. Maybe not so much for um, the location shots of the Lord of the Rings, but just how beautiful and fantastic as fantasy art goes. Your country and the landscape,
Oh, yeah,
can
yeah.
be. It's like between you, New Zealand and Iceland. Just has these, like,
Hmm.
just within the mileage and distance. You can get snowy mountains and then lava and strange
Yeah,
shaped rocks and greens and deserts, all within
true.
however many miles,
It's pretty
it's really
close to
wild.
us too. Most
Yeah,
places
yeah,
it's all
yeah,
really close, and it's these giant wildernesses.
yeah. Now, it must give you a lot of inspiration.
Yeah, yeah. I find that subconsciously I must be influenced by kiwi fruit orchards because they got these kind of gnarly trunks and vines. And
Oh, wow.
I pruned kiwi fruit for years in my
Yeah.
past, and I noticed I've got, I can see one right there now, kind of almost like a kiwi fruit vine.
That's great. That's great. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
But,
So,
carry on.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, there's lots of other formations, like you say, rocks and trees and whatnot, yeah, that are inspiring. You don't have to go far to find things. But I
Yeah.
guess it's like that
So,
anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of. I actually like the winters, because I'm on the East Coast, in the Philadelphia area, United States, and
Is that huge?
I just, yeah, yeah. Pennsylvania itself, is just keeps going and going, with the kind of similar landscape, But the winters are always neat because of especially snowing and, like, after snow, and the wet trees getting black, and just
Yeah.
I always just I get a fantasy feeling And I
Cool.
still do a lot of like hiking out in the woods and
Oh, cool.
stopping in little areas and taking pictures, or I just love running around out in the woods and everything. So,
Yeah.
um, but I was going to say or ask now you did when you were doing a through on the last video, you have done comic book stories, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I first started drawing comics when I was 11 or 12. For fun and that, and um, I think probably around when I was 20, I started getting back into them, drawing them. I think I fizzled out with it in my last year at high school. I did a comic as a school project, and I was inspired by Conan the Barbarian at the time, and
Right.
I made up Shandar the Barbarian. Funny,
Nice.
I and I got back into it around 20, and I published 5 comics over the
Do you still
90s.
have them?
Yeah,
You still have them?
yeah. But I pulled one out the other day, when we were talking in email, and had a look, and I read the last one I did, and I just cringed at the story.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
the
You have any
artwork's
around?
okay, I guess.
Yeah. Do you have any around right now? Can you like flash something?
Oh, I could reach over and grab it, I think. I
Oh,
could
I'd
grab
appreciate
I've
that.
got a copy on the shelf here.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's nothing.
And you release these, like print them on your own and released them in New Zealand only, right?
Yeah, they were photocopied, and I think what I did was I made up master sheets, and then those sticky sort of temporary sticky things. I'd stick them
Mm-hmm.
onto the um, the master sheets, and and arrange it like that, and then just photocopy them off. I probably did a stack of 30. At the time I did this, I was living in the big city, and in Christchurch, if you've heard of that place.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I was living there, and there was 3 comic shops there back
Oh
then.
wow.
This is in about 1996, and I think I made 30. The comic shop bought 10 off me, and I think most of the rest I might have sold 1 or 2,
Right.
and in person, and then the rest of them I ended up sending them off to people with trades, just doing trades really. Maybe a few
Right.
people overseas bought one, and but it hardly sold anything. It was sort of like that in the 90s. Nothing really sold, with homemade comics. I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of yeah. Unless you were in a like a mailer circular for like the zines, but wow, this is
Yeah, the
wow.
first half of the book or so is I spent a lot of time on the inks, and I was using fine liners, um, not the microns because we don't get those in New Zealand, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it was Staedtler. Is that how
yeah.
you say
Yep,
it? Yeah, it's
yep.
using those, and I used to use I think an 0.2, and I might have had a thicker pen for the larger blacks. And I like how I did those frames with the jagged bits.
Oh, I do too. I mean, even if you're saying you're 20 years old when you're doing this, you had an advanced, if not appreciation for, kind of underground comics, independent as they would become. But
Yeah, there was quite a big rack of at the comic shop of New Zealand made comics. There's a big rack. I once went in there and this lady was sitting down on the floor reading my comic. I thought, that's cool.
That's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. See, like that's enough for me to make it and try to sell it. Like, just watching somebody reading it is just, it's priceless. I mean, to use a cliche, it's just priceless. Now, do you still have copies to sell?
I think there's like a few left. Yeah.
All right.
Like I'd have to go up there and dig in to how much is actually there, but
that's great. That is great.
Yeah. Torridy's a bounty hunter in the year 2015. Sodom City.
Oh, it's great. It's so great. It's so free, Drawnsword. It's so free.
Story-wise, I had no idea about the hero's journey. So it's kind of like there's no sort of, he doesn't really face much of a challenge, you know. Oh, there's an old ad for my artistry. This piece here was on a t-shirt. It was done for a metal band.
Yeah,
printed on a t-shirt.
How would you categorize, or how would you like to see your work categorized as? I mean, just saying something's fantasy art or sci-fi art or sword and sorcery art.
I say science fantasy.
Science fantasy?
Yeah. Because science fiction is kind of more
technical.
Yeah, was sort of based on some kind of reality, isn't it? Whereas science fantasy is, and it can apply to, sword and sorcery, or, something out there in another world.
But you've seen the Power Comics channel, right?
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't put your, but I wouldn't. Would you feel comfortable having your stuff categorized as a
I don't
comic?
think it really qualifies.
Why? Because of why you say that?
I think I was sort of more conscious in trying to do the best art I could, but it's.
I agree. Your work is a lot more rendered. Yeah, it's a lot more refined than the Power Comics, but
because isn't the what do you call it, the classification, the criteria is
it's so bizarre to
I mean, I think it's kind of like that they're kind of not conscious of how silly something looked, or they're just getting it out there. They're just on a flow, And
I always kind of thought of it as it's like high school art. It's like you don't have anything, nothing. You're not trying to pay bills, or you're just in high school, and so you got this time, and you're putting all this energy in. You get this. It's a one and done kind of feel to it. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I just threw this random piece in the middle in the centerfold that's not related to the story. I don't know how long I took on that, but
Yeah, because I think the other categorization it was the H.R. Geiger.
Yeah.
or was it Baczynski?
Oh,
Baczynski?
you said last time about
Yeah,
my work reminded you
yeah,
of Geiger.
yeah. And it's the intricacy, organic intricacy of your work. That's how I would sort of see it. And if you had to have a cow, like I think you're way more parallel with him and Baczynski than a power comic. But like, it just seems like there's a lot going on in comic books right now that you know this has a foothold and some respect now, and so it would be really interesting to see it get in front of some people. Um, just to get that reaction. That's
This
amazing.
this
That is
piece
so
ended
great.
up being a zine cover
Oh
for a
wow.
metal zine. Oh,
Yeah, because
actually, it
I would
was
also say you have like legitimately have a heavy metal feel too. Like I think you're really aligned with heavy metal. So magazine and music.
yeah, yeah. I
There he
don't know.
is with his lady.
Yeah, yeah. So and a buddy I had that sort of dabbled in a bit of comics down in Christchurch. He did this piece for me for the back.
Oh wow.
Yeah, rest in peace, Paul Wilson.
Oh okay.
He passed away a couple of years ago.
No, I'm sorry to hear that. That's some
But
talent right there too. Mm.
yeah, I ended up making a comic on this character too, but I
Oh
never
yeah.
finished. I never finished it. I got it started, 5 or 6 pages of it. Sodom City, police debt warning, wanted, dead or alive.
Love it. I love it. I'm about
4,000.
I'm about ready to watch um, an 1988 post-apocalyptic movie called The Sisterhood. So
Oh yeah,
it's all the same cliches and everything, but it looked. I saw a trailer for it, and I was like, I gotta check this out. But yeah, you just can't beat it. You just can't beat it. I love it.
um, yeah. I've got a new
You,
comic in the works since 2020, and it took me a while to arrive at the character because I had a lot of false starts. I'd draw a few pages in, and then I'd realise something didn't really work with the
hmm.
world building or the story or something, and then I'd get a better idea, so I'd overhaul it and come up with something better until I finally arrived at a character. Everything's perfect, everything works, the motivations, just everything works. And I've drawn 24 pages plus
Oh wow.
other stuff that it's all in pencil still, kind of like layouts, and some other pages are quite tight. Yeah, and I started
You have
inking it last year, and I wasn't gonna ink, I was just
uh,
gonna do it in graphite.
leave the pencils. Yeah, leave it in
Yeah,
pencil.
you reckon? Do it like
Uh,
I.
I don't have any issue with your inks. I think your inks have another layer to your work, but because of the ease and ability to be able to reproduce pencils, um,
Yeah,
yeah, I just think it would be so. And you know what? I have been noticing more. A guy I just started following on Instagram based on a comic that somebody had reviewed on YouTube. I went to his Instagram, and it's what he does. They and there's so many of these artists that they just do pencils. They create that high contrast to get them
yeah,
black as possible without them looking completely blown out, and then they start coloring them digitally and stuff. So like Tom Scioli, he does I think he's all pencil. and then digital coloring.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Was it James Edward Clark? He's another one. I can kind of see how he's been working that way. But he
I
actually like
noticed.
color. He turns his colors, his line into colors. So like
Yeah,
this whole creature would be, he would separate this, and let's say maybe purple and blue, and then put darks and light other colors in there, and this might be all orange and pink, or orange and red, blah blah blah, so there's a lot of
right.
technical stuff. But yeah, I would, even if it gives you a sense of like a quicker feeling for resolve, drawn sword, I'd totally back you up on letting it go in just as pencils. So
Right, yeah,
rich.
because in the 90s, the photocopying technology didn't capture pencils
Correct.
as good,
Correct.
so we had
Correct.
to go with ink. And I was
And
actually
offset printing too.
I was corresponding by letter with an American cartoonist, um,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me about crow quills and using Indian ink, so you'd get a
Right.
better
Right.
better reproduction. And I did explore that, but I think I got the wrong nibs, and I did do some comics fully in with crow quill and brush. And I've got back into that. I started inking this new comic I'm working on that way with crow quill, and I decided because to avoid the smudging, once you've got pages and pages of it.
Yeah.
But I think if you just scan it in straight away and then maybe stick some tracing paper between the sheets or
Yep.
something,
Yep.
to preserve it that way. I don't like the idea of spraying stuff over them
Right.
just in case. But yeah, that's interesting to say that. Oh, do you want to see? I'll show you.
Oh yeah. Whatever you're going to show, yes.
The first page of it's a double page splash. So, and this is all done with crow quill and brush.
Man, man.
It's,
You do realize it's like no matter what you render, it has impact. And maybe that impact could initially be like, what the is that? But it's not a negative. It's like I want to know more what that is, and then go from there, because it's just
that's Carnot. That's my character Carnot riding in on us.
it's air bike.
Yeah, I did make
That's
up a
sweet.
name for those type of bikes. What is it? Um, escapes me right now. When you're on the spot, things like that escape you.
Yeah, yeah. If we let it go, it'll come back in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and if I redraw all this, I'd have to redraw the first 5 pages. The rest of them are just lightly penciled. But if I redo it, I'll probably do it all different.
I don't.
I'll better it.
Yeah, yeah. But
Oh,
I
originally,
even. I
what?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, originally I was gonna just ink every odd page. That just the odd page that I thought needed it, because I do love the look of
Right.
inks. And
Right.
you know
Right.
how that page looks like it really needs to be inked, and just have most of it in pencil, because it will be
Yeah.
faster to pencil.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
inking stuff takes so long, eh? And
Yeah, and I think most of the rules that we grew up with in the '90s, maybe even for the first half of the 2000s, like up to 2010, they're all gone. And I think a lot of it
yeah,
is because of the ease of being able to reproduce work directly from the art, by scanning and digitally manipulating it a little bit, or if you've rendered the whole thing digitally and then you output it as a PDF, book, and then somebody prints it for you and sends it to you for $3 or whatever. It's just like it doesn't, and then publishers aren't holding people to that. Like they're not looking at pencils going, oh wow, if you finish these, then send us that and we'll take a look at it. It's now like, oh wow, like there's a lot of impact with these pencils. And yeah, the inks also have impact, but they have a separate feeling to them. Like, oh wow, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's that artist who did King Conan in pencils, and they just coloured straight over his pencils.
Was that Raphael?
He was, I think he's from Brazil, or somewhere in South America. I'll just see if I can read it. I've got a book here.
Yeah.
There's a Kurt Brugel, but that's not the guy.
No. Oh, Nord. Was it Carrie Nord?
Yeah, not him.
Yeah. No? Okay.
Oh, it's right. It's King Conan. Looking in the wrong place. The Hour of the Dragon. He drew that. Thomas Guerrillo.
Oh yeah.
And he's coloured by Josie Villa.
Right.
Rubia.
Right.
Butchered their names, but you know who I mean.
Nah, it's Yep.
Yeah, this book.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, I remember they came out. Yeah, I was like, wow, look, somebody's making a living just penciling comics and not having them ruined by an inker.
Yeah, that's a nice look, eh?
Yeah.
That really works, that pencil, and you can see all the pencil line. Yeah, and the colours
especially for sword and sorcery.
Yeah.
Yeah, there should be no cleanliness to sword and sorcery.
On, Earl Grey, where he does panelology.
Yeah.
The YouTube channel, yeah, he's got way back. Yep. He's got a video of a guy that just fully rendered all his panels in graphite, and I think the lettering's just inked, and just awesome work, eh? Like he's really gone to town with it, with the contrast and everything. And I forget the guy's name, but he's somewhere in Europe, or might have been French. A French guy, can't remember his name, but boy, that was the one that when I saw that I was like, oh, okay, some people do it like this, because a lot of books that get published in pencil, it's just they've just left the inks off, and it's just like it's not fully rendered, because I'd approach it like like how Simon Bisley painted Slane. Just went to town on it. Well, you just do that with pencils, have about 3 or 4 grades and just render it. You could leave some panels kind of loose, it'd be like, and just ink your lettering. And, I wouldn't even ink the sound effects. I'd make them a part of the art, render them as well. Because I actually do that. Yeah. If I have crunch, and there's rocks involved, I'll have the crunch written out of rocks,
right,
and sort of crumbling and add to it. I try and make my sound effects look visual and sort of describe the sound, rather than anything looking
just like type
cliche, just your cliche type fonts, yeah. And I love hand lettering too, I like the idea of the ragged scroll bits with your captions too, like here.
Yeah. Yep. I am so glad we've been able to get in touch and stay in touch, Drawnsword, because my trajectory here once we get into the Crom anthology is to help all of us build a community around, um, I call it sword and sorcery post-apocalyptic, art, which is probably not the most popular thing when it really comes down to it. But there's enough people out there that I think will support, um, something that collectively, drives all of us, keeps us moving forward.
Well, that
So
Savage Sword of Conan that's been relaunched by Titan,
yeah, yeah,
that's doing really well. There's a big
it is.
following for it.
Yeah, I saw a review of the first issue, and I do have to say I was tickled in my fancy. And then I think I'm going to actually start doing a pull list at a local comic book store because the owners have changed. And I think I'm hoping, I'm going to go down and meet the new owner soon. And I'm hoping
Oh, yeah.
they have a little bit more independent uh, feel, to selling or engaging books and artists and stuff. So, it'll be kind of neat to be able to walk back into a comic book store maybe once a month to be able to pick up some books, but to help and support. But yeah, it's
Yeah, that's really awesome. You can do that.
yeah. Oh wow, look at that. Oh man.
Yeah, this is a piece from my upcoming Scoundrels Dread book.
Oh, okay. And this is completed, or you still have
Yeah.
you think you still have? Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Oh wow, wow. Now, are you going landscape in the book? So when you flip the pages,
Oh, they'll
you're
be
going
both.
landscape.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's
Okay.
some that are
So
double page. There's some that are double page that way.
okay.
Yeah, and some this way and some that way. Most of them are
Right.
that. Oh, I'm not really sure. There's a bit of both. Might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think you've shown two so far for that, which are in that landscape mode, which would make a great double page spread. If you blew up scan wise.
Yeah.
The other thing it brings up is these artist editions. When we get to
Yeah.
see art, the originals blown up, like even to size, but to us that's blown up. Like if it's a book that's 12 by 18, because it's going to have an 11 by 17 in it. That's pretty exciting. But even for your size being A4, if you got a high enough scan, like a 600 DPI scan, you could do some blowing up of your pages, so you can actually kind of get in there and see a lot of that noodling and doodling, and that
I
goes
got
into your work.
the other day when you were showing that Philippe Droulier book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just really. It's kind of funny when you see it on screen because I've got the book, but it's just really got to thinking how cool it is to draw big. Because I've seen in one of his or some video of inside his studio, he had some of those old pieces laid out, and they're huge. They're like poster-sized pages, eh?
Yes.
And I was thinking afterwards that what I should do is like sellotape two pieces of this size together and draw a page that big, and then I can scan them in as one piece each. Because I've got an 8. And and then when you shrink stuff down again, you could either feature it across two pages sideways, but I think I'd shrink it down and then it would look even more detailed. I don't think you'd lose it shrinking it down. In the past, I published a couple of comics that were half this size, like that size.
Yeah.
And I did the artwork at this size. Some of it was actually double, and it looked really cool, shrunk down. Yeah.
Yeah, well, your work is there's an illusion to the size, because until something comes in like your hand, it looks huge. it just
Right.
has a monumental feeling because like how could somebody draw that much detail on such a small surface, but that's just your
Yeah.
approach, and I think that's like it's just categorically like very original and unique, and
Yeah, I
you
have
know I
actually blown up stuff to in the past.
yeah
I've sort of made a poster. I think it was A2 size. Do you know that one? I think it's double A3 A2,
yeah it's probably
and
16 by 20. Yeah.
and it's and it works. You know, it doesn't look like
Yeah.
anything's
Oh yeah.
missing.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
actually done it
Yeah.
with pieces and then coloured them as well, blown them up and then coloured them in colour
Oh
pencil in the
wow.
past.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, every now and then I do a painting, but I've never set out to just do paintings one after another for very long
Right. Right.
because you know you've always got a comic on the go or you've always got some art book thing. It's no time,
Exactly.
eh?
I know what you mean. I know what you
Yeah.
mean. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Hey, that
Yeah.
piece
This
you
is.
did, you know, that piece you showed on your channel. It's awesome. That Kotha, is it Kotha or?
Yeah. Yeah. Kothar. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
what a
That's
great
actually
piece
in
of
a.
art.
Thank you. Yeah, the color version, the videos are going to be coming up real soon, because I wanted to just put some spot coloring in of like some fluorescent orange and green for the kind of magic goopily that stuff was swirling around him, and I got these cheap paint markers off of Amazon, and for like literally like $13 and 24 of them. But then I kept pulling markers out and trying, different things on there, and it went crazy to town. So yeah, and that's actually in a little art show in
Oh
town,
yeah.
at the Tallyville Shopping Center. So yeah, I got a lot of reaction to that. So I'm going to start incorporating that into my work more.
Is that
So
piece
yeah.
for the book of what's his name? Gardner, Fox
Yep.
Gardner.
So that's officially now the book cover
Oh yeah.
for this is the first copy. This is the first book of the five 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 books of Kothar the Barbarian Swordsman,
I don't know
and
anything about that character. Is he like Conan or Crom or
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
he?
He's what we call the pastiche. Where like Crom the Barbarian. Um, Fox was just taking that sort of like hyperbolic Robert E. Howard wording and phrasing of stuff, and then give him blonde hair, and he still has panther-like moves and ham-like fists, and brooding brow and all that type of stuff. Um, but he carries
Oh,
a magical sword, and
oh yeah.
they're good. These are three short stories.
Oh,
These are
so he
really
does
good.
have some differences.
There
He's
are
not.
some, yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is this
Cool.
is pretty this is
Has
pretty cool.
anyone
And
has anyone done that as a comic? Done him?
not yet, but I am definitely going to be working on some scripting, and I'm going to want to find a penciler to be able to work with because my workload would not allow me to do soup to nuts. So, but yeah, he has Kothar, Kyric, Nile of the Far Travels. Those are his three sword and sorcery characters. So they're fun. They're fun. They inspired Dungeons and Dragons. They're part of the what's called the Appendix N. Gygax put together,
Oh well.
which were all the pulp and paperbacks until like 72 or so that inspired him to create these adventures. So this story is set. The first story is a very popular story. I get a lot of people asking to license this story, and I won't allow it. Um, because it has the Lich in it. His name is Afgorkon, and he gives the sword Frostfire to Kothar when he's trying to run away from a failed battle. And the way the character is described, you can see how someone like Gary Gygax was like, we got to create this into a role playing character. So the Lich, the living mummy, dead, undead wizard, just great stuff. Great stuff.
And what did he create him first?
This is so Kothar was 1950. This is 1968, 69, 69, and then he writes off and on for these two stories and all three of those characters.
Gardner didn't create him.
No, he did. This is his.
Well, what I'm asking is, like, who came first, Crom, Kothar, or
Crom first. Yep, Crom first, then Kothar, then Kyric, and then Nile of the Far Travels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonder why he created so many. That's sort of similar. It's cool how he's got a magical sword or something different about him. He's still a blonde, isn't he?
Yeah, they all are actually. It's funny because everybody's a blonde. So, and I think it was probably because of the guy who controlled the licensing for Conan was Glenn Lord, and he was pretty vicious. Like if he caught wind of something that was out there, he would cease and desist letter, and then if he had to make an attempt at suing, he was very protective. Rightfully so, because there was so many people trying to just knock off all that Robert E. Howard had created. It's pretty wild. Now, these were, one of the things historically about paperback writers, Fox included, they were commissioned to write these books. So it was like, I think he was getting like $1,500 to write this story.
Wow.
Back in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s. Yeah, so he was making some mad loot, but it was always a one and done. No royalties, no reprint. They paid a wordsmith to make a story. So that was a lot of what was going on back then. So it was just having enough understanding of what all the stories in this genre were doing, and then doing your segment of it. Just like cutting a little piece over here and then doing your thing, contributing, and obviously the publisher was getting book sales.
And what sort of powers does the sword do?
It's funny. It's a big criticism because it doesn't have anything assigned to it other than it's cursed in that it will lose its power if Kothar claims riches. So if so it's this weird play of a curse that Afgorkon places on the sword and Kothar, that he's just got to wander around with this thing. Now,
does it have extra strength though?
Well, it's gotten him out of situations, but it's always curiously told on a where did that power come from? Did it come from this wizard that was helping him, or the sorceress, or because he'd done this and that? So there's a lot of mystery to it. So he doesn't. It's not like a magical item in Dungeons and Dragons where it's like it has double the strength and can cut through volcanic rock and blah 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 blah. So it's fluid. He kept it fluid. So
right, cool.
So, well, look, we are over an hour, which is a good thing.
Okay, cool.
But I am so glad we were able to catch up. We're gonna stay in touch, and the next time we talk, your art will be on the cover of your version, what's called a virgin cover. So the cover of my revised Crom the Barbarian will just have the art. It won't have a masthead that says Crom the Barbarian. So, and
Oh,
they will be limited. There will be a limited time when I do release these books that they will only be available to the public for that period of time. And then after that period of time, whatever copies I'm able to get into the artist's hands will be then. I will send anybody who is interested in purchasing those a book if they miss the opportunity during that month to the artists themselves. And of course, then you can also post them on your website and sell them, for whatever amount of money you feel that goes on. But I want to also keep in touch. I also would like to give you any kind of support that you need in seeing these art books come to publication. But Drawnsword, do you have anything to say on the way out of here this afternoon for you?
oh, thanks very much for talking and getting to show art on your show. And yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Very talented, and I can't wait to see more and more of your work. So until then, keep drawing.
Yeah, keep trying.